Welcome to Gold Derby. I'm senior editor Denton Davidson here with four-time Oscar winner Colleen Atwood and Mark Sutherland, the costume designers behind the smash Netflix TV series Wednesday. Colleen, I'll start with you first. You're no stranger to the world of Tim Burton. You've done 13 films together, I think, and he's an executive producer on this series. He directs the first four episodes. What do you go into expecting when you work with Tim Burton? What do you know is going to happen?
Well, I think what I know is, the style of collaboration and that Tim is a reactive director. So right away, I know, to gather stuff up, to show him images right away that he can react to with my ideas, and it'll compel him to sort of spin on his own. So it's sort of a two-way street with us with that in the beginning. And then as I come up with stuff and make things and do stuff, I always send them to him to make sure he's seen everything, and we take it from there. I know it'll be a wild ride, but Tim is very specific about everything that he does. So it's quite nice actually that he actually tells you if he likes something or he doesn't, so you can just keep going and getting on with it. I might add that Mark's no stranger to Tim Burton either, because he has definitely worked with me on Tim's movies in the past. I don't know exactly how many of them, but he knows the game too. So he, and Tim's familiar with Mark and really likes him. So it was nice to have Mark there too in the room, and that kind of energy with Tim instead of just tired old me.
Mark, you can speak to that, or you could both speak to this, but how did you two come together? Because as you mentioned, you have done a lot of projects together. So where did that relationship between you two start, and what has continued to keep you two collaborating through all these various projects?
Well, I met Colleen on a movie called Nine. And, we've worked together on numerous projects ever since, really, and become good friends as well. So our relationship started there, really. And when I first met Colleen, it was like, oh my God, it's Colleen Atwood. But it was quite
I was like, oh my God, it's Colleen Atwood.
No, just because she's so iconic. That is the real deal. But we got on really well. We've gotten so well from the beginning, and our relationship has forged forward ever since then. And we did The Beasts and stuff like that together. And then Colleen asked me to work with her on Wednesday, and I was really pleased. I've been a big fan of Wednesday and the Addams Family, so it was a real privilege.
So let's talk about Wednesday Addams. She's such an iconic character. What are some of the things that you two discussed about Wednesday so you could keep that nostalgia alive, but you also want to modernize her and help Jenna Ortega, put her own spin on this character?
Well, I think we knew from the start that Jenna was going to put her own spin on it, along with Tim, on who Wednesday and the Addams Family were, for that matter, that they were more, like Mark has said previously, they were more a family living that were related to the real world. They weren't just somebody up on a hill that never left it, So they branched out a little. They made new friends, and it made it really fun for us in that sense.
And Mark, how do you take black? She's always in black or black and white, and make it exciting, because you two managed to do that over and over again throughout this series. What's the secret?
Well, it was just, going through when we first see Wednesday and we see her in that iconic look that she was in with the dress, the white collar. And then, as Colleen said, it was moving Wednesday into the modern world, and someone that people of her generation could, connect with. So the black and white was, it was just about finding different combinations for different things, for different scenarios, because Wednesday had a lot to do in, you know, that series. She was Action Wednesday, you know, she was the Stealth Wednesday, you know, the Glamorous Wednesday, you know, and it's just about thinking about those different costumes and different scenarios. And, you know, it's looking in the high street, you know, looking at high fashion and also stuff that we could make and stuff that we could mix up. You know, even though, you know, it's true that people say, oh, you know, it's just in black and white all the time. That is quite difficult actually to, you know, create a number of costumes for one character and keep it changing. You know, we had to change it, and we had to also bring in the changes for the story days, for the scenes, for the episodes, so you'd know that, you know, this was a different time. And that, so it's just about mixing it up and making it fun, really.
And also for camera, especially, you know, filming now, we had a lot of night stuff too. It's just the juxtaposition of texture. So using fabrics that are black but kick back light, so you get a reflection off them next to a more kind of textural black that might soak up a little more light. So there were a lot of technical things for each change that we took into we took on, because we also a lot of times did the edges of black with a lighter color that doesn't really show on film, but it separates black on black a little bit. So there's technical things that go into that too that help make it work.
A lot of people's favorite costume, or one of them, is Wednesday's dress from that dance. Just because that scene is so iconic, it just went viral. And Colleen, I understand that you sort of stumbled upon that dress just shopping, and then you made your own alterations to it and made some changes. How do you know when it's like best to build your own costume for something versus, you know, go in and find the right thing? What's the balance there?
I just think that it was so random. I mean, in that costume, we were noodling. Do we go get a prom dress and redo that? It had to look like something she bought in a secondhand store in that town. So it had to have a nod to a vintage piece, as opposed to being, you know, the slinky prom dresses that kids are wearing now. And you know, we were looking. I kind of hadn't really seen what I thought was the perfect thing yet. And just randomly, I wasn't even looking for that. I was just walking down the street and I saw it. And I think that maybe like when you have a certain number of years of experience, that as much as you might want to make a dress that's, you know, the big dress in a show or the thing, if you see it sitting there in front of you and it's already made in a way that's pretty close or really close, and you don't have months of time to sort of R&D it, that you've got to know that it was the one. And I knew when I saw it, it was the one. I had my assistant put it on, who was with me, not Mark. One of my assistants from a different show actually put it on and did a spin. I wanted to see it move because it was a lot of dress. And I knew it was going to be more dress than I needed for Jenna, but I felt that the bones of it were really there. And it was a really complicated dress to make, as it was. But when she put it on, and, you know, I had her running around in the store in it and stuff, you could tell it was just, what am I going to come up with? It's better than this dress. And it's such a complicated dress. That company, Alaya, only made one of them. There was not another dress anywhere. So our team, you know, when Mark, you know, I was in London, Mark was in Romania. I said, I found the dress. I showed him a picture of it, and we were all like, yeah, this is, and Jenna loved it. But we knew it needed to come down a little bit in scale. But once they got it, and then we realized we needed 3 more of them and they weren't available, the workroom was really delivered on making the multiples for it, because it's really a labor intensive dress to make. And
you're lucky in the fact that there is some different looks in the series in terms of color. I mean, because we have the Addams family, but then there's also this world of Nevermore. Can you talk about Enid? Her, you know, that's a totally different personality from Wednesday. Bold colors, bursting with brightness. Talk about coming up with the concept for her clothing and what you wanted to dress her in.
Mark, why don't you do that?
Yeah. Well, we had a show and tell. Colleen's mentioned this before, but we did something at Tim's house where one day we had Jenna and we went through different looks, and then another time we had well, we did Wednesday, then we did Enid, and so we did them in tandem. So it was about, even though Enid came from the world of werewolves, we were still trying to find more textures and fabrics and color, and just the opposite juxtaposition from Wednesday. So it's just about finding, where it would be, when Wednesday first sees Enid, like, it's such a shock with color, that we had to sort of come up with something that was so extreme for her to see. But yeah, we sort of went around, we started looking at different fabrics, we got speciality knitters in to knit some knitwear that we could use. And then we did some high street stuff. And then we found some really great high fashion stuff as well, because at that point, everything was just filled with color. So it was like being at a sweet shop, actually, shopping for Enid.
Yeah, it was so much easier than like finding the Wednesday components out there in the universe at the point we were kind of creating and trying to find, real clothes as opposed to made clothes. And now, to juxtaposition it, now there's so much black and white out there. I mean, the influence of Wednesday on the fashion and the high street has been amazing, in the sort of reality of how much black and white combos there are, available when we need them the least.
Yeah.
But anyway, everyone else will have fun with it.
Well, just to play off of that, both of you have done so many projects. You never know what's going to happen in this business. You might love something and then it bombs. This is such a massive hit, one of the biggest hits in Netflix history. That has to feel great. Or, what is that like to be part of something that is so huge?
I mean, for me, it's sort of like, wow, it's sort of a wow moment, but it's just like life goes on and you're doing your thing. And, even I just saw Jenna yesterday for some stuff and we were talking about it, like how crazy her life has been, like, since that happened. It's like, before that, sure, people knew who she was, but now it's like she has to be, her life changed from it, which I think for somebody like that, that's major, especially at such a young age. I think for us, we're like, well, that was a good one, but we didn't know when we were doing it. We liked it and we had a great time, and that's what matters the most. It's always sad when you do something that you love a lot and then it just kind of fizzles out in the world. That's much more kind of sits with you longer than when something's really great. You're just happy it's great and happy for everybody that worked so hard to make it that way.
And what about some of these adult characters? You've got these great actors like Gwendolyn Christie, Christina Ricci. These characters, they're on the cusp of normalcy. In some ways, they're a little mysterious. But what goes into creating those sort of looks?
When you get a person like either one of those ladies, but I'll start with Gwendolyn Christ. I mean, you get someone like that in the room and she's just so fantastic. And I had this like idea when I had in my apartment in London that I had this old French poster of the Byrds with just sort of a headshot of Teppy Hendren doing that, and the French twist with the just so collar from that period. And what happened is that I kept looking at that, and then I met Gwendolyn and I went, oh my God, it's like, that's how I want her to look. I want her to have that Hitchcockian sort of kind of the perfect, not change it that much, but always the perfect thing for the scene that she's in. So I really looked back to the early 60s for her influence on her clothes. So we tailored everything to fit her. And we just had the best time with her because she's so much fun and she brings so much to it, where, the take on Weems could be that she's a mousy headmistress type in a suit. But in fact, people that run those big schools are major politicians. They do meetings with people. They have to raise money for the school. They're constantly on duty. It's a big job. It's the equivalent of being a COO. So I wanted to do that with her character as a woman, as opposed to doing like a frumpy schoolmistress type. And she just took it to the next level.
Yeah, with Christina, it was, because she comes from that horticultural world and Mrs. Thornhill, and we wanted to make her costumes sort of part of nature, really. But also, she had to have some sort of utility within the mix. And also there was the famous red boots that we had to figure out, because, the red boots was really, the whole thread with her character. So from the very beginning, we didn't want her to wear like a pair of red Wellington boots. We wanted her to wear something that was cool, and then we found these, the amazing red boots. And then also when she was in the classroom, we wanted her to look like, she had some sort of workwear, but also make her look fashionable as well. So it was trying to incorporate that and the environment that she worked in. But just trying to make her sort of quite, in a way, sort of retro, fashionable, and sort of not quite unassuming, as the character that she was, really, because who would know that she turned out to be the person that she was. So it was about developing all those sort of parts of character with her, and the thing about she also wanted to put her in some glasses so we could have some sort of reveal at the end, but not make her look similar to what she was, with Christina in a different sort of series that she's in.
Yeah. What was the hardest piece for you to create? And do you two agree on what that piece was?
I would think, from my standpoint of view, the thing that took the most time to sort of create outside the uniforms, which is a process, which I wasn't in Romania at the time, but Mark and Bobby dealing with the POCUP was probably the hardest thing to get right. We tried a lot of different things, and then we kind of had the concept of it early, but we had to deal with a lot of things like wetsuits underneath costumes and stuff like that, and have it still look realistic, at least for half the time. And I think that, we did it, I did it long distance with them, but I think that was probably the most difficult sort of thing in the whole thing to get right. The white ball was kind of great because we knew from the start it was that. And as we went along, we gathered stuff for that, so it wasn't last minute. But the POCUP was pretty intense, and because of the elements and because of the, the concept, and a lot of people weighed in on it, and it was probably the most pressure, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think also because it came up really early on in the schedule.
Yeah.
And we were, you sort of getting used to all these different characters, and you get used to all these different groups, the werewolves, the vampires, and everything like that. And it was also, we had to sort of really have come together with hair and makeup, and also with set deck, so all these different teams had their own identity, but also Tim wanted them to have a bit more of a darker look than we'd imagined. So it was just the process. We went through so many different looks with these guys. And as Colleen says, we also had to factor in the practicality, because we were shooting this in Romania in February and -5 on a lake, with kids. So, all those elements put together, but I have to say it's my favorite episode because of what we achieved and, how we got there.
It's such a fun episode too. And before I let you go, Colleen, I can't we're an awards website, and I can't help but notice some of that hardware you got behind you.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Before it was my laundry room door. I changed angles when I plugged in my computer. Sorry.
So, you know, you've won 4 Oscars, and you're the most awarded living costume designer right now. I mean, Edith had 8. You still got time. But when you look back to that very first one for Little Women, and you went, was that the first Oscars you attended? I'm curious, what's the biggest memory you have from that night, whether it's about the ceremony itself or not, just about going to the Oscars the first time?
I think I remember that my daughter was a baby then, and I had no money. I swear to God, every time that I've gotten nominated for the Oscar, the year before I've had like a crap year for work. So I didn't have any money to like get a really like, you know, like get the dress. And I have a really dear friend that has a lot of dresses. And I borrowed a dress from her, a beautiful Christian Lacroix dress, which I would never have been able to wear. And then I got there and I was so embarrassed because one of the big producers, I forget who it was from some other show, was in the same dress. And I was just like, oh my God. Not that anybody cares because nobody notices us like coming in anyway, especially back then. It wasn't such a, you know, it was before the fashion world grabbed the red carpet totally. But it was pretty funny because I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed because, and then then I went to the bathroom, the women's room there, and this other woman had caught her dress in the door. So I ended up like fixing this lady's dress. I said, you're always working no matter what. I ended up figuring out how to fix her dress in the bathroom with her so she could go back out. It was pretty funny. But, and I was by myself. I didn't really have a date. And so I went by myself, and for some reason that Oscars usually I have my kids there, but that time they were very like frugal with the tickets too. So it was just me by myself. So I won the Oscar. It was really great, and you know, queen for a day. And I came home and made myself hot chocolate and went to bed.
Well, if you're gonna get stuck in the bathroom with anyone, it's a costume designer that's to help fix your dress. Congratulations!
We learn how to do things in the moment in our field.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to both of you on Wednesday. The two of you already picked up a Costume Designers Guild award for the series. So congratulations on that.
So
Let's hope
great.
the Emmys are next. We'd love to see you on that red carpet. Colleen Atwood, Mark Sutherland, Costume Designers for Wednesday. Thanks for chatting with Gold Derby today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.